Hydrate hair.
All right, we're back.
Can't help the touch. And none of the bad stuff. Herbal essences.
They tried to maintain radio silence, and the Willie D. Porter, as she was called, tried to flash over a signal lamp like you have a live torpedo heading their way. So while this was taking place, President Roosevelt thought, oh, this is great, entertaining. And he asked the Secret Service people to wheel him up to the rail area so he could watch what was taking place. Meanwhile, Iowa aimed all their guns on the Porter. They thought maybe it was an assassination. Well, by this time, on Iowa's bridge, they did spot the torpedo. They called general quarters. They sped up and turned into the torpedo, and the turbulence that was generated from the increase in speed, that torpedo hit that and exploded. So that didn't go over too well.
Admiral Bill Halsey's gigantic third steams at full strength through Japanese home waters on a mission of destiny.
Following its service with President Roosevelt, USS Iowa was sent to the Pacific Theater in January of 1944. Almost immediately, the Iowa started bombarding Japanese-held shores and naval bases, taking her first damage from small shells hitting Turret 2, causing no serious harm. While she was routinely used for landing support, the Iowa's primary role remained protecting aircraft carriers.
U.S. and British warships fired some 2,000 tons of shells into the coastal area northeast of Tokyo.
Oh yeah, my last stream cut out on me. I lost connection. Yeah. Stuff away.
The main armament of the Iowa-class big stick turrets has a 16-inch diameter, 2,700-pound armor-piercing shell. It was designed to break through 30 feet of reinforced concrete or 18 inches of armor. Basically, if the Iowa were to meet any enemy warships, it would have little difficulty sinking.
This is known as the powder train. This is what it looks like inside the barrel just prior to shooting. We have a BL&P round here, blank load and plug round. This is a practice round filled with concrete. Behind it, we have 6 dummy bags, so the 660 pounds of powder will move this 300-pound wreck, allowing us to put it on target up to 23 miles away.
That's funny. There's a track in there. Random. I'm putting all my butt guns away back in their box.
By mid-April 1945, the Iowa arrived in Okinawa Bay. For the
Okinawa.
next 4 months, it would be used for daily shelling of the Japanese.
I always wanted to go to Okinawa.
The Iowa-class battleships were not the biggest guns on the water.
The two nemesis for the Iowa class were the Yamato and Musashi. They had 18-inch guns. The Yamato and Musashi, they didn't have as great as fire control systems as the American Navy did. They had greater armor, and they were a bit slower. They never did arrive at the point where they went head-to-head, gun to gun. And what ended up sinking the Yamato and Musashi was air power. They were just overwhelmed with aircrafts, torpedoes, and bombs.
From January 1944 to August 1945, Iowa took part in numerous battles and bombardments, even firing rounds in the days following the nuclear strikes on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 14th, the Japanese surrendered, and the war was over.
There we go.
President Harry
That's put away.
personally selected the battleship USS Missouri, BB-63, as the stage for the signing of the Japanese surrender documents.
On August 14th, Japan surrendered. And early in
There.
September 1945, in
I
Tokyo
opened up
Bay,
all kinds of room there.
Battleship Missouri was the scene of the signing of the unconditional surrender terms. On the deck of the huge battleship, General Douglas MacArthur expressed the hope of the people all over the world. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion, a better world shall emerge out of the blood and wine
The
of
paint
time.
shop again.
A world dedicated to the dignity of man and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish for freedom, tolerance, and justice.
In
Man,
the days following the
I need
surrender
so many more metal
ceremony,
wheels.
US
It's
servicemen held as
crazy.
prisoners of war by the Japanese were crowded onto the deck of the Big Stick as she sailed out of the harbor.
And so the troops came home. Home from Iwo Jima
Actually,
and
these
Nagasaki,
might be metal.
from
They're just
Tokyo and
black.
Tokyo, from Okinawa and Baston. And the
I
United States
don't
turned
know.
to peace and the pursuit of peacetime happiness. And the tools of war were put away. Guns and ships and arms.
Long before BB-61 became the pride of the Navy, the original Iowa was designed as a fast-sailing, hit-and-run slope for the Civil War. But by the time she was fully ready, the war was over and she never saw active service. 30 years later, USS Iowa BB-4 was a distinguished battleship blazing an 11,000-ton trail in the Spanish-American War. The BB-4 story ended just after the United States entered the Washington Naval Treaty of 1922. Joining Britain, Japan, France, and Italy, the United States agreed to limit the size and number of her ships. This agreement scrapped the third USS Iowa, BB-53, already under construction. As Japan formally broke the treaty in 1934, the United States followed suit, building the 45,000-ton Iowa class of battleships. During the nearly 50 years the Iowa class ships were in service, more than half that time was spent
Oh, I
in
got
English
all
reserves
these, too.
or mothballed fleet.
All
By
those
1949,
plastic
all
wheels
of
can
the
be
Iowa class ships were placed in reserve,
thrown out.
but only for a short period of time.
Suddenly and without warning, the North Korean communist regime launched a brutal and unprovoked attack on the Republic of Korea. Republican troops sprang to the defense of their country and tried to stem the tide of invasion from the north. It was now apparent that international communism was prepared to resort to armed force in its plan for world domination.
Oh my! Set my butt back up in here.
Western work, but got low mileage, lots of strength in the hull. We still have the ammunition. Let's put it to work.
When the Iowa was brought out of mothballs,
A metal shell loco.
Battleship war. North Korea had only a small navy comprised mostly of small ships and submarines. Reactivated in 1950.
Well, these
The Iowa was
nice ones I got from Mr. Throne, they got Katie's and everything.
2006.
And
The ship was commonly referred to as the
I
City
looks like
What makes a ship happy?
the wheels are plastic, but they might be metal, but just black. Everything else is metal, like the axle's metal. I don't know.
I served 19.
Why would you have metal axles with plastic wheels?
I was a weatherman aboard. Even as a
That's
kid,
shite.
traveled wherever it went every 6 hours, and weather observation had to be made. Getting it back out on the wire to the rest of the.
It sucks, because if I did know that, I unfortunately wouldn't have got them.
I was there for training. They called me up for a job that nobody wanted to do. I said, I did. You want it done? They give you an order to do it. We got to Cuba. It was 100 degrees, total humidity, just terribly hot. And all the place, the walls of the ship, you had to raise forward. So you could get underneath that crawl space and scrape all that rust off and paint it all. At 100 degrees, it's unbelievable hot.
That sucks. Like, I want to use those so bad, but it cost a fortune to convert all those. I got 10 of them. So
Iowa's role in Korea was similar to its service in World War II, except in Korea, its gun turrets were much busier.
I can't do it. But all my black CP rail coal cars, they're all
24 hours a day for a 7-month.
They're all metal.
In that time, she fired twice as many rounds as you get in all of World War II of 16-inch and 5-inch guns.
It was very serious. We recognized that every time we launched a round, somebody was going to probably get hurt. So we had to keep that in the back of your mind. But we loved it. And I have met some ground founders who could appreciate what the vessel did. Because when they heard the, let's say, the whoosh, whoosh of the 16,
Yep, I bought 100 pack of those
they could sleep.
quite a little while ago now.
So it really was maybe for the
Used them all up.
something like
And then a 50 pack of Rapido metal wheels.
Protecting the troops and the Marines. So just their presence definitely within about a 20-mile range.
I can't afford anymore.
Is intimidating.
I'm in the broke house, man.
They say
Hardcore broke house.
probably several hundred, if not thousands, their lives.
Yeah, the Proto wheels and Rapidos, they're both great.
The Iowa made its way back to Norfolk, Virginia in the fall of 1952. No one could have known it, but after earning 11 battle stars across 2 wars, the Iowa had seen its last combat engagement.
After the war, she went on traditional peacetime duties that a battleship would do, midshipman cruises, showing the flag. As kind of an ambassador or floating ship of state, so to speak. But this time, after her years of service, she retired and was mothballed in Philadelphia for about 26 years.
Nearly a decade later, the United States entered the Vietnam War. However, only Iowa's sister ship, the USS New Jersey, DD-62, was recommissioned. The Iowa's active service career was far from over, but the military deemed reactivating all 4 of the Iowa-class battleships unnecessary. Ultimately, the Navy decided the Iowa-class battleships were too expensive, and the mighty ships were sent back to the mothballs.
The crew size is huge. World War II era, she had 2,000, almost 800 sailors on board. Korean War, about roughly 2,400. And even in the 80s, the Cold War period, she had about 1,400. Now, if you compare that with the backbone of the fleet today are the Burke-class destroyers, they have a crew size of about 300, 320. So you have 5 times the size of the crews, salaries, of benefits.
So now I was one of 1,600 sailors in Desert Storm on board battleship.
Well, you're catching up, are you?
1,600 sailors require 3 meals a day. We get paid twice a
There
month.
you go.
And if we're married, I get an allowance for dependents. Today's fleet runs on either nuclear or gas turbines, and we require diesel fuel. Diesel fuel burns our water to make steam to make us go through the water. Where you're talking in miles per gallon in your car, we're talking in battleships feet per gallon. We run 15 feet per gallon of diesel fuel that we burn. And today's prices, that is an astronomical cost. On top of all that, I can only do 32 Tomahawk missiles. I can't do any more.
Watch your head as you step over this. The steel is pretty unforgiving. All right, so this is Broadway. This is home to me. So Broadway is the longest continuous passageway on the ship, meaning the single longest uninterrupted passageway. So this is the engineering plant. It is encased inside the Orla belt because without your engineering plant, you can't move and you can't fight. Everything on here is powered by steam. There are not enough backup generators and diesel to actually fire the weapons. The diesel generators give you only enough power to restart the steam plant, which then gives you enough power to move the turrets. So this is the top end of the boiler. This is how we make steam. In the 1940s and 1950s, we burned something called MSFO, which is the Navy Standard Fuel Oil.
I gotta
MSFO
go
is 1 step up from
pee.
It's thick. It's like putting
Not in my pots. No, 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 no. Oh, what did Lauren send me?
Hey, wait. Don't come back.
Shit, that was funny. All right, now I'm going to the washroom for sure this time. Hail to the no. I kind of forget the tune of that song. I'll have to watch it again. Oh, I need a pop refill because it went flat. All right. More acta, less verba. Oh, getting nice and toasty in here, boys. Oh, yeah. All right, continue this documentary on
It's not highly refined.
the USS Iowa.
You can run it through pipes. It's incredibly difficult.
I love it. Oh, someone's catching up here.
Diesel fuel grade. It's basically number 2 diesel. The only alteration that needed to be made to these boilers to do that was to change the tip of the burner, which is about a 25-cent piece. This is our ship.
Oh, you getting close?
But one of the coolest places over here is this right here.
Hell to the no,
This
to
workbench
the no,
has
no,
this
no.
stamped into it, which are all of the sailors present in this shop during VJ Day. And then you can see 86 when the Statue of Liberty was rededicated, it was here, and then there's a decommissioning crew over here. The difference in the quality of work between the World War II sailors, my contemporaries in the 80s, almost embarrassing. Almost embarrassing.
Oh, come on, CN, pull ahead.
The Vice President of the United States, George Bush. And it occurs to me that wherever freedom is triumphed, there too has triumphed peace. That
We got
will be the
this.
mission of the modernized Iowa. She will be defending freedom, and in defending freedom, she will be an important instrument in promoting world peace. I hereby place the United States ship Iowa in commission. God bless and Godspeed.
After 23 years in mothballs, with great fanfare, the Iowa was called back to active service. First spending 2 years being refitted with modern weapons and technology. By 1984, the Iowa was made ready to sail for the first time with no immediate combat need. Instead, the Iowa entered a new type of war, the Cold War. For more than 3 decades, the threat of aggression loomed over the world's 2 biggest nuclear powers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Rather than enter into an actual war,
America! Fuck yeah!
newly elected U.S. President Ronald Reagan took a different tack. In 1980, Reagan had campaigned under the idea of a 600-ship Navy. By 1979, the Navy's fleet had dropped to a low of 521 ships. The Reagan buildup would bring the Navy back to Vietnam-era numbers, with the hopes of promoting democracy and discouraging any would-be combatants from taking a shot at either the United States or its allies. Included in that buildup were plans to pull several ships out of mothballs, and USS Iowa was on that list.
When I first stepped on it, you're like, this is massive, you know. And you start walking around it, you start looking at the guns, and you're thinking, you know, how does this thing even float? And of course, when I got to it, it was all rusty steel and everything, and stuff was being modified. And that's where we all pitched in. We actually got the ship done early. At the time, you know, there was going on in Beirut. They were trying to get us out, so we'd go to Beirut instead to New Jersey. By the time I was 22 years old, on 4 different countries. Been to the Panama Canal many times, then South Central America, all the way up to Mexico.
To avoid the long journey from the Atlantic to the Pacific around the tip of South America, the Iowa went through the Panama Canal, just like she had done during World War II. With a width of 108 feet, she barely squeezed through the tighter spots of the canal, occasionally scraping the walls of the 109-foot wide channel.
When we went to Northern Europe, there was other, you know, the German Navy, there was the French Navy and stuff like that, that also went out with us. We put out a firepower show for them, you know, just to show them, hey, we have the capabilities, and this is what we're about.
While the Iowa's first mission was defense, followed closely by the effort to maintain peaceful avenues for international shipping, her sailors were sent on humanitarian missions wherever she sailed.
Even in some of the other countries, South Central America, you know, a lot of work at orphanages and stuff. A couple of the other enginemen went over, they fixed their cooling system for their retreat. I also
I had a ship surface, and so I learned every system on the ship. I learned how to steer the ship. I learned how to transfer from the bridge to the abstract. I learned how to fire the gun. The government came up with that program, especially after Pearl Harbor, because there wasn't enough people cross-trained to take over and save the ship, and that's how you're going to survive.
As there were 40 years between the initial
Hello, Hydra.
1980s reactivation, many upgrades were needed on the Iowa class.
How was your evening going?
While her 16-inch guns were impressive, cut an imposing silhouette, the 1980s saw each ship equipped with Harpoon anti-ship missiles and Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles. Whereas a 16-inch round could travel 23 miles, a cruise missile could fly 1,500 miles, guided by an onboard computer. Additionally, 4 Phalanx automatic defense Gatling gun systems were installed, replacing 2
I
5-inch
love the
guns and
Phalanx.
4 anti-aircraft guns. Finally, the Iowa was the first battleship to be fitted with the Pioneer, a new class of unmanned aerial vehicles which could be remotely piloted from the ship. While not part of her armor, the most striking improvement was her reduction in crew size, from 2,800 sailors in World War II to 1,500 sailors. Although technological advancements allowed for the reduced crew, the demands of the city at sea were still rigorous.
I was a Navy Hall technician, HT3. When I first went on the ship, I was just a fireman. I was the only E3 that ever was a fire marshal at that time with the Iowa. We were reported
Oh, good to hear, man.
to head up all the fire parties and make sure that everything stays safe and sound.
I was boiler technician.
I had the trains running for majority of the day.
Take water, boil it, it makes steam. Then you add more heat to it to make it superheated. It goes over to the engine room, spins the turbines, which makes the ship go. When you're underway, you have to take care of everything. You got to keep the lights on. You got to make water. People making food. You got people getting supplies. It's a full team working together. Civilian people just don't understand because they've never been in that environment.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, bloody ads.
Hey Google, play my morning drive playlist.
At Subway Canada, get 5 6-inch classics for $5.99 each. Now available in centimeters. Someone stole my post by swag.
Cut.
Yes, Mike. Yes.
Yes,
You have to say it.
I can skip it.
Represents lighting.
Damn it. Can't skip this one. Thank you so much, Hydra.
I was in gun turn 1, left gun poison.
That's a fun little layout.
I was a rammer man, and then later on, I was a deck.
Can get it all in pretty much one camera angle.
Well, shall I say, burden space and the head, which is the back. You know, it's like brotherhood, having somebody that's got my back and I got their back, and you get me to, you know, connect with them, whether they're from up north, down south, out west, walk up to wherever.
So I started as what was called a non-rated fireman apprentice. It's an E2. I had the sexy job of making fresh water, and that's what I did. We ran a distilling plant, and we made about 110,000 gallons of fresh water a day. Most people go, wow, crew uses that much water. I'm like, no, the crew is an afterthought. The boilers use that much water.
Throughout the 1980s, the Iowa saw no combat, primarily performing training and gunnery exercises. Still, the ship did have one special experience in 1986, when she sailed into the waters of Lower Manhattan to once again be the battleship of presidents.
Just before I came on board, we had the presidential visit from Ronald Reagan. I was really sad that I missed that. But the ship was the platform that Reagan used to do the International Naval Review in New York Harbor for the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty after the Restoration, which was pretty amazing.
Dubbed Liberty Weekend, President Reagan boarded the Iowa and sailed past the backdrop of the Manhattan skyline surrounded by more than 30 ships representing democracies from around
I don't know. I'm just watching
the
a
restoration of the Statue of Liberty is the fulcrum of the week.
watching a newer documentary on Battleship Iowa. And before that, I was just while I was running the trains, I was just playing a little bit of No Man's Sky.
By 1988, Iowa was spending a considerable
I got into
amount
No
of time
Man's Sky just about a month ago. It's pretty fun.
and would likely have joined her sister Iowa-class battleships in Gulf War combat. However, fate had something much more cruel in store.
A lot of people surprisingly don't know about April 19th. And for those who don't know, the preface is the ship was the site of one of the largest peacetime loss of life accidents on April 19th, 1989, when we had an open breach explosion in the Centerdown turret. It killed 47 people in the turret, killed everybody that was in the turret, the entire turret structure.
But on the morning of the 19th, I was in the upper handling room of Mount 56's twin 5-inch 54 gun. Our gun filled with smoke, so we struck down all of our ammunition. I come out on the port side and headed forward, and as I did, I witnessed a secondary explosion in the gun. The 17-inch thick steel gun mount actually expanded and contracted before my eyes. I knew we'd be in trouble.
Everybody knew something bad had happened. And general quarters went down, which is the alarm that goes when you go to battle stations or something terrible has happened. And they immediately come over, during that general quarters, all hands back at battle station, reason for general quarters, unexplained detonation in turret 2.
Immediately following the call to general quarters, sailors were on deck hosing down the smoking turret. All remaining black powder bags on the ship were flooded to prevent another catastrophic explosion.
I was Repair 5. I was one of the first people there in a full-blown team to get there because all the engineers weren't right in Broadway, and we got all suited up and took off for the turret.
Later in that day, they called for a boatswain to come in and remove the casualties. So I went in the decks between which there's two projectile decks, an electric deck and a mechanical deck. And then you get down to the bottom, you got the powder flats. The electrical decks and the upper projectile decks, the fireball shot down through the open hatches and stayed contained in the shape of the hatches. It went down and mushroomed in the bottom. But as it passed by, it caused a vacuum. And it sucked the air out of the space. The guys, the only thing you could see that they were gone is they had a little blood coming out of their ears and their nose.
I'll never forget that day. The bad thing about a fire on a ship is you're using water to put it out. When you're floating in that water, and the more water you use to try and put it out, you could sink yourself.
It happened mid-morning, the explosion did. I brought the last guy out, me and one other guy. We brought the last guy out about 2 a.m. the next morning. And my clothes smelled like burnt flesh and scorched hydraulic fluid, so I took them off and threw them off the ship.
I was trained, I did what I was supposed to do, did what I was told. Everybody else did too, because we saved the rest of the 1,500 people that were on the ship and saved the ship.
Seriously damaged and floating in the gunnery practice waters off Puerto Rico, the Iowa was called back to Norfolk for further investigation into the cause of the accident.
Catastrophic accident on board Iowa was a moratorium on shooting projectiles from battleships. When we actually left for the Persian Gulf, we were still under that moratorium. We were not allowed to shoot our guns. The moratorium was because
CN's catching up.
they didn't really know what happened. And they didn't want an accident again. So they just, you guys got to stop.
A memorial service was held today at the Norfolk Naval Base for the 47 men killed in last week's gunshot explosion aboard the battleship USS Iowa. On hand was President George Bush.
Joined today.
I'm a super chief now. No, I do not.
And thanks to the 11 who survived. They all were, in the words of a poet, the men behind the guns. Now fate has written a sorrowful chapter in this history of this great ship. Let me say to the crew of Iowa, I understand your great grief. So never forget, your friends died for the cause of peace and freedom.
On April 20th, the day after the explosion, the Navy launched an investigation. Less than 5 months later, Navy officials delivered their findings as to why they believed the powder bags had exploded before the door to the gun had been closed.
I'm here to report on the investigation of the 19 April 1989 explosion, part 2 on board USS Iowa. That after 20,000 seconds,
Super Chief would be nice to have, though.
no accidental fault. Having found material foreign to the normal propellant load, indicating the presence of a foreign object. Having the circumstantial information concerning the person manning the gun captain position. The individual with greatest access and opportunity and with knowledge of detonating devices. It is the conclusion of this investigation that the tragic explosion on board USS Iowa on 19 April was caused by a wrongful, intentional act. Most probably, the insertion of a detonating device between powder bags 1 and 2 behind the projectile. That Gunnersmith Second Class Blake Hartley was the most likely person to have introduced that detonating device.
During the Navy's investigation, the Iowa actually deployed one final time, touring Northern Europe from June to December of 1989. After the Navy's investigation cleared the possibility of mechanical failure as the cause of the April 19th explosion, Iowa was allowed to fire her 16-inch guns one final time. When she returned to Norfolk for decommissioning, she returned to turmoil, as the Navy's report was being openly questioned by sailors, journalists, and even the FBI. As doubts continued to mount, multiple new investigations were opened outside the Navy, starting with Congress.
Neither the commanding officer, executive officer, weapons officer, nor the gunnery officer knew of the large number of watch stations being manned by personnel not fully qualified under PQS program.
As the investigating officer, can you think of any other way this explosion could have occurred? Or has anybody else made a reasonable suggestion indicating another possible reason for the explosion?
Senator McCain, I have to say in all honesty that we looked for another possibility for this accident, and we could not find one, and we searched.
Eventually, a private laboratory tested black powder bags manufactured in the same lot as the ones used in Turret 2 on the day of the explosion. Scientists concluded the bags could combust. Following this development, it wasn't long before the Navy reevaluated its initial conclusion.
Considering all the evidence now available, the opinion that the explosion on board USS Iowa on 19 April 1989 resulted from a wrongful intentional act is not conclusively established by the evidence. Independent tests by Sandia National Laboratories suggested that a possible accidental explosion might result from a high-speed compressive overran on the gun propellant powder. Neither an intentional act nor an accidental cause can be proven or dismissed. The initial investigation contained a qualified opinion that implicated GM2 Clayton M. Hartwick, USN, and that opinion was interpreted by many as a conclusive finding of wrongdoing. For this, on behalf of the U.S. Navy, I extend my sincere regrets to the family of GM2 Hartwick. There is no clear and convincing proof of the cause of the Iowa explosion, and the Navy will not imply that a deceased individual is to blame for his own death or the deaths of others without such clear and convincing proof.
The only thing known for sure was 47 USS Iowa sailors lost their lives, and much of her surviving crew have been traumatized.
Herbal Essences is bursting with pure aloe vera and luxurious camellia to deeply hydrate hair and none of the bad stuff.
Check out the big stars, big series, and blockbuster movies streaming on Paramount Plus. Like Tulsa King, The Substance, and The Naked Gun. Now that's a mountain of entertainment.
your imagination is good.
Whoa. Did you do that?
Making it reality with Super Cruise from OnStar, that's better. OnStar, better never stops.
Welcome to the 33rd Annual Memorial Service of USS Iowa, Iowa 47. This event is to remember the Iowa 47, to honor them. And it's grown into something a lot bigger because most of our crew suffers from PTSD. So everything we do is, yes, we honor our 47 dead shipmates, but we are here to bring healing to those who live. They feel guilty for just surviving. And this is where they start their healing.
I still see all of it. I don't let that one day ruin everything for me. I mean, I'll never forget, and it was probably the most horrible day of my life, but I know I had to move on. I knew I had a wife. I knew I had a lifetime that I still needed to live and not be living in that one moment.
Oh, thank you so much, Titanic. It's a fun little layout.
GMG3 Robert Wallace Packherms, Ravenna, Ohio.
I was on board trying to bottle it up, but basically we were hit with one of those in order to get off the ship, you had to sign a gag order. So, man, locking that away and keeping it within yourself. GMG2, Peter, Kramer, Gunners.
I've been running these trains for a majority of the day.
Really dealt with. Well, me personally, I can't have personal, intimate relationships because of feelings.
They're running pretty smooth.
They press my feelings down.
Oh, excuse me.
Back, you know. So when you do that, it's hard.
Then I'm just sitting back watching a documentary on Battleship Iowa, doing the stream and
And that day was certainly traumatic.
until I get tired.
Very traumatic for the families and my shipmates.
You guys are failed some snorkeling line. We successfully did deployment for 6 months. We pulled back in on December 7th of 1989 because we finished the job.
Seaman of Otis, Levance Moses, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yeah, same here, man. I love learning about history, especially when it comes to ships.
Everybody asks why the Iowa crew is so close after all these years. And my brother's a retired Navy chief. And I said, Mike, the other 3 battleships, their crews aren't near as close as ours.
Yeah, when I got into this hobby about 5 years ago, I started off just laying track on the floor.
Like no other crew ever has been. It's something that can't be changed, but it's something that's brought us all together to make us strong.
GMG2 Clayton Michael Hartwig, Cleveland, Ohio.
That's an awfully long list. But we're here to honor that.
I know a little bit about Titanic. With that said, I wish more talked about Olympic and Britannic as well.
My card tag is a USS Iowa tag. My kids, know
They definitely don't get talked about as much.
Just like old times, doesn't it?
No, the food looks better.
Even though she may not be
Olympic had a really epic career. Many stories about Olympic. Sad it never got preserved.
Members and civilians alike visit her daily to take in her life firsthand.
There's as much below the water as there is above the water. It's more. Yeah, look at how much of it is up above your head and bank that far down. Plus, it's a pretty damn big thing.
Since the ship opened as a museum in 2012, USS Iowa veterans returned to the ship for a reunion, partially to catch up, but in reality, They may be getting reacquainted with a ship possibly taken for granted in their youth.
I've almost finished in the Master Chief
Oh,
of the
I
Command.
better speed this guy up a bit.
Came to us all one day and wanted us to write
Go
down our
CN.
you know, where do you want to go? I didn't know. So I told him, I said,
There we go. He should start pulling away a little bit.
"You know a lot better than I would." I said, "Write down Ukraine." And he did. And about 2 weeks later, he came back to me and brought me the orders. Said, "All right, well, it's really, at times didn't mean a whole lot to him, but he cried when he gave it to me. He was, I mean, I would do anything to trade places with you on these orders." I mean, he was very emotional about it. So then I had to start looking into it and figuring out, you know, what's the big deal. And it really was a big deal.
I think whenever the gun is made, go ahead and shoot that bad boy off, man. It's like, boom. Because you always have ear protection, no matter where you're at. But there's no place you can.
No, there's CN's pulling ahead a little bit now.
Steel toe shoes. Your whole body cracks. There it is. Everybody do. That's the button. That's the truth.
When the USS Iowa Museum opened to the public, it was the last battleship to transition from mothball fleet to floating monument. In order to keep the ship afloat, today's staff faces many of the same maintenance challenges she had when she was in service. It was quite a chore for us. We're maintaining a 888-foot ship with about 15 volunteers and paid staff.
Yeah, there wouldn't have been any deaths on Britannic if people were listening to the captain, which they never did.
Down to bare metal, we're repairing all those rivets, bringing the original thickness of the hull plating back to its original thickness. It's degraded. The rest of the superstructure, we can.
They died from launching the lifeboats when they weren't supposed to, and they got chopped up by the propellers.
Full circle when I first joined the Navy, said, "Hey, what kind of ships you want to be on?" I said, "Battleship, battleship, battleship." They said,
And
good luck, you know, we don't have
another reason why the ship sank so fast, as we know, after the events of the Titanic, Britannic and Olympic were brought in the dry dock, and they had their watertight bulkheads built up higher. So the last documentary I watched on Britannic, and I did a bit of reading myself, is the crew. They left the portholes open, so the bulkheads couldn't do jack shit because the crew left all the portholes open. If memory serves me correctly, the captain's plan was to run Olympic to ground, which would have worked if the bloody portholes were closed. So the Britannic's fate, in my opinion, was all because no one was fucking listening. That's how I perceived it anyway. That was a shake of my head. I was like, what? Everyone left the freaking portholes open? It's like, yes, let's just let the water all get in. Yeah, then there was that.
The Scrappy. Once over that hurdle, they searched for more help to transform the ship from floating derelict back to her former glory.
We woke up on the ship, one day, and it was the 30th of October. I said, holy cow, we have a battleship now. We literally had about $12,000 of money. The state of Iowa had promised $3 million to whomever received the vessel. We got it in the first week in March of 12. Helped us clean up the ship. We painted her. We did $2.3 million of work on her just in Richmond before we could even tow her down. It helped pay for part of the tow. It was really the seed money at the beginning. And we've also contributed since then. There's been some money for hull preservation. That's been important.
The state of Iowa has embraced its namesake ship since the 1890s. The state gifted the first Iowa battleship with formal dining silverware emblazoned with symbols from the Hawkeye state. The state reaffirmed that relationship in 1967 when the Navy placed an exact scale replica of BB-61 in the Capitol building, a model which is still on display.
I do have steam locomotives, but they're all at all my DCC ones are at my girlfriend's place. I got a bigger layout there.
All of the Iowans who present a driver's license from Iowa, they get aboard for free forever. That's the way it is. This is your battleship.
A new vessel bears the name USS Iowa. The Virginia-class nuclear submarine SSN-797 is already under construction. However, the story of the battleship Iowa is by no means finished. Though the chapter of her service as a weapon is complete, the term battleship is still important for those who have served on board, or for those who endeavor to learn about her history. The USS Iowa has a future ahead of sharing her story as the battleship of presidents. And no other vessel can lay claim to being the flagship of the defining class of battleship.
Of the 4 Iowa-class battleships, ours is the best.
Yeah, unfortunately, majority of my steam, they're all DC.
I wear my ball cap every day. I take my dogs for a walk, wear the ball cap. I go to the grocery store, wear my ball cap.
When I was in boot camp and I got orders to go to the Iowa, I was like, yes. I'm going to a battleship. My friends were like, what's a battleship? Dude, World War II, big guns,
I think everybody probably wishes that their ship was still commissioned at the sea. I think everybody would like to think that at some point there were two that could go back, but I'm glad it's a museum. If it wasn't a museum, it'd be rotting away somewhere. And it was rotting away somewhere.
I love this ship.
Oh, an O gauge, nice.
The time I had in the Navy was on this ship. I did 20 years in the Navy, but by far this was my best command. The camaraderie, the pride, the people just caring about one another and getting the job done.
I'm proud to say that I was from Iowa, Northern Iowa. To say that you're running, I don't know how many people can say that. They've been there. They lived the life of it.
It was the one reunion that I have to go to every year now that she's here. That I come back and see Miguel. It was just like coming home.
He was giving out assignments, and when they called my name out and I was pointing to the ship up on the wall, I saw it and I was terrified. And I actually begged.
And usually when I do a stream, I don't switch up trains a whole lot because it's very time consuming. I got to take rolling stock off, put it away, put new rolling stock on, and yeah, it's time consuming.
Fist fight with somebody else at close range. There's something old school about Battleship. There's something kind of timeless. We talked about how to effectively tell the story of Iowa. Is Iowa World War II?
So what I tend to do is I usually always have 2 American trains going and 1 Canadian.
Because Iowa's story is big. This is the last battleship. It really is the last battleship to be designed, this class, the last battleship that was made. But it's pretty special to be on the last of the best.
But like, I have a couple CN locomotives and a couple of Union Pacific locomotives, so it's really quick to swap out a loco. Montana Rail Link, the blue one here, they're owned by BNSF, so any BNSF locomotive I have I'll hook up to that.
Funding for this program was provided by Friends, the Iowa PBS Foundation, as well as generations of families and friends who feel passionate about the programs they watch on Iowa PBS.
All right, let's see what else is on here.
Need to be rescued from your wet basement?
That was a good hour-long documentary. Oh, there's my live stream. Oh, there was an epic battle. The sinking of HMS Prince of Wales and Repulse.
1941. In the humid air off the coast of British Malaya, two of the Royal Navy's most powerful warships cut through the calm sea, Prince of Wales and Repulse, accompanied by a trio of destroyers. Their mission.
I think I've seen this one before. A few little documentaries on Prince of Wales and Repulse. Once in a blue moon, I'll watch SMT. I don't really watch a lot of other train channels. Usually if I go on YouTube, I just watch documentaries. But from what videos I did see of SMT, they are very interesting and definitely educational when he's repairing locomotives and getting them running again. I also like that guy from England, Sam's Trains. I like him. He's very knowledgeable too.
It's the morning of December 10th, 1941. In the humid air off the
And
coast of British Malaya,
just regular videos, I don't do too many anymore.
Prince of Wales and Repulse, accompanied by a trio
Mostly
of
just live streaming.
their mission. Intercept Japanese invasion.
Like if I get something new, like I'll usually do an unboxing, and that'll pretty much be it. But I stopped buying. I'm not buying things anymore really for the hobby because I got enough, and it's just getting too bloody expensive. So I'm just more or less, I come to the conclusion I'm happy with what I have for now, and I'll just work on the layout at my girlfriend's place, which is it's a good size layout. We have it on our sun deck, which is really cool. A weatherproof sun deck, mind you. It's got a roof and everything. It's pretty cool. It's really nice. If you go through some of my live streams, or I might have a video here and there, you'll see it. But it's got a long way to go with it. This here is just in my little I have a little mini home here in town. And my little bedroom here, it's actually this little layout's in the middle of a loft bed. All right, Titanic lover, you have a good one, and thanks for jumping in. Oh, I thought you ended it there a little while ago, Brian.
Along the eastern coast, but they don't know they've been spotted. High above, dozens of Japanese bombers are already closing in, guided by reconnaissance.
Oh yeah, this one I seen. I seen that one.
Mark
March 6th, 1945, 3:47 p.m.
Not much really. I was just talking to Titanic lover. We were just talking about some ships and talking about Britannic, and then talking about the hobby there a little bit. I was wondering if I had any steam locomotives. I was like, I do, but my DCC and Sound ones are at my girlfriend's place, and all the ones I have here are DC, unfortunately. And on top of that, it's so bloody time consuming. Taking things off the track, putting it back on. I don't even want to get into that in live streams anymore. Like, it just takes bloody forever. I mean, it's one thing to switch up a locomotive, but just to switch up all the rolling stock and everything with it too just takes too long. And I gotta put it all away. Nope. So I think when it comes to my live streams, I think what I'm running is what I'm gonna be running, unless we swap out locomotives. Because swapping out locomotives is really quick to do. I mean, I do got my 4449 sitting here, but it's I gotta see if David might be able to fix the harness, but I really screwed it because because I'm an idiot and I super glued the wires back into the connector. So I really boobed it. And I emailed Bachman about it, and because I heard they had good customer service, but they never ever got back to me. The last time I tried 4449, it worked, but the light don't work anymore. So there is that. Oh yeah, everything here is in really bad shape. It's so bad. I'm just looking at the underneath of it. It's rough. That harness is just destroyed. Yup, did I ever, bro? Like, I'm sure you could fix it, David, but it would be so frustrating. Like, the plug is not gonna come out of the socket. Like, it's pretty bad. At some point in time, I'll get you to take a look at it, see what you can do for it. Like I say, no rush really. Come next year, I might, depending on how I'm doing financially, I might buy Brian's off him. He's got the Broadway Limited version of it. He says he's going to sell it in about a year. Well, because I do love running my 4449, or should I say I used to. So, yeah. So by next year, I got myself in a much better situation. Fuck me. If it frustrates you that bad, I don't even care. It'd be fucking hilarious. Oh yeah, it's just the two of us here, right? Just the three of us, me, you, and Brian. Yeah, so Brian, I can't blame the hobby. It's all my fault, but I mean, you probably had an idea, but I put myself in too much debt in this hobby, and I have a lot of credit card debt to pay off before I can do anything else. So it's going to be painful. But for me, it turned into a bit of a unhealthy addiction. And the thing is, I couldn't afford it. I put it all on credit. So I put myself about $7,000 in debt and credit card debt in this hobby in the span of like a year, like since I moved into this trailer. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you've done it, yeah. So I gotta fix what I did, like really bad. So like I'll trade with someone, which I did. That's how I got the SP locomotive. But yeah, it's gonna take me a while to really fix the hole I got myself into. Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, but I did what I did, so now I gotta, like I say, slowly dig myself out of this pickle. Oh, the black Amtrak, the Rapido. Yeah, I got that